Hey everybody, we're back with another season 4 of Spider-Man the animated series, the 90s animated series. And yeah, uh um I don't hate this season at all, but it's probably like the bottom tier season, uh if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Uh but uh there's parts I like it, but I think like the main crux that is a highlight is the Black Cat arc. And let me say this, Black Cat does play a prominent role in this season, but moving forward, when I talk about the final season 5, uh, it's like she gets cool moments in this season. Afterwards, I wouldn't say relegated to damsel in distress. I wouldn't go that far, but just she constantly have to be safe, and she's a badass on her own right. It is, I don't know, it's kind of like having Wonder Woman being constantly saved by Superman, and it is, it seems kind of odd. But yeah, uh after what happened the final episode of season 3, uh Peter is, really going through it. He's, lost the love of his life. He is a little hardened. So his like, and he just fed up with, Madam Web at this point, because she wouldn't really want to help in this matter with, all the paces she put him through. It's like, okay, help me find my Mary Jane, and as little as she can do on her own. But he's like, okay, fine, don't ever come to me ever again for anything. You put me all through the ringer for some supposed purpose, but you're not telling me that. So miss me with all your little cryptic stuff. So now he's hardened. He's questioning his worth as a hero, even in his like own personal life. He's, kind of just pushing people away at this point. Uh, like I said, I really don't care for Aunt May in this, and like, Mary Jane's Aunt Anna is the worst of the worst. Uh, just like a extreme nag. Uh, uh, but then we get this arc where we delve more into Felicia Hardy's parental lineage, which will feed into an arc in season 5. If you played the Spider-Man PS4 game, and you had that DLC about, I won't say a DLC, but it's a side story with this guy posing like a supposed police officer, and turns out to be Black Cat's father, and known as the Cat. And of course, I think I really don't read much. I should read some Black Cat stuff, but I haven't really delved into the background of Black Cat. All I know is about her origin story is what I've gotten from this animated series, and that's what my headcanon has been going off of. And I think, in large part, a lot of people got this. I'm pretty sure this in the comics too, but I think in large part people got Black Cat's story from the show. So, as a kid, Black Cat's dad, pretty sure is John Hardesky. Uh, yeah, it was John Hardesky, who has been relegated into Shield custody on purpose, because he has like some critical knowledge that he doesn't want out in the world. Because when he was a boy, he was tricked into thinking he was spying uh, for the Allies, but turns out to be like the people of the Red Skull, working for the Red Skull. He, it's like a growing, which soon to be a more prominent cat burglar. But as a kid, he managed to infiltrate the hideout where they was making the super soldier serum and giving it to Steve Rogers, and which he turns into Captain America. And he managed to slip through, and he has a photographic memory, so he managed to watch on the chalkboard all the formula needed to create the super soldier serum before one of the enemies infiltrated this this hideout, destroyed the equipment, and of course, Erskine, who helped create Captain America, ends up getting caught in the blast. So, for all everybody knew, Captain America was the only successful super soldier serum. And of course, then you get Isaiah Bradley, of course, and then the Winter Soldier, and thing, somewhat with Black Widow, if you go off of her comic book origin. So it's been many people who took on the mantle of Captain America, but there's only very few that actually has somewhat like his powers. So once Hardesky realized that he was tricked by the Red Skull, he managed to slip away with that knowledge, because even though he was, he grew up to be like a cat burglar, he wasn't a traitor to his country, so he just kept that to himself. But for all these years, he had to, see, it was the only place he knew that that knowledge would be kept safe, because while he was walking around, anybody can just scoop him up and try to extract that information. For all Felicia Hardy and her mom knew, like, the dad passed away. So Kingpin finds him and experimented on Felicia Hardy, which ends up turning her into the Black Cat. And I didn't realize Jennifer Hale voiced Black Cat. And Jennifer Hale is a very famous voice actress, and I did not even realize that was, once I took a brief look through the credits, I realized she was the one who voiced Black Cat all those years ago. And it's very skilled. She was very skilled, because the way she, like, of course, she Felicia Hardy can just turn it on and off, which is, I wouldn't say ridiculous, but it's like, I guess you just to keep up like a secret identity, because she's blonde, but when she turned to Black Cat, she's got snowy white hair, and she a little bit more confident in her voice. It's like oh, like Peter, like very snobbish, aristocratic. Not want to say aristocratic, but just snooty tone of voice, but then very confident and seductress type of tone of voice. But looking back on it now, I'm like, okay, Captain America can't just turn on and off his super soldier powers to turn him from like meek Steve Rogers to Captain America. She should always be Black Cat with well-toned body and everything like that. It's like, and then like she just kept the white hair, but whatever. I like this Black Cat, but I think the game really I think I like that Black Cat a whole lot more. I think that's probably, it's arguably, maybe aside from maybe most of the comics, but I think that version of Black Cat from the game is really doggone good, really good. I like the costume. It was a little more form fitting, very cat burglary. The whole goggles, everything like that. Everything just really works in the PS4 game. I really hope we get to see more of her in the sequel later on in the year. What else? So, of course, Spider-Man helps out because police is probably the closest thing he has. As far as like he has Harry Osborn, but he's been blowing him off because he's too in his own mind. But he managed to help out and reunite the family and stop the Kingpin from using the formula to create an army of super soldiers in his whim. But he Hardesky had to go back to Shield in order to keep that secret safe. So he says goodbye to Felicia and her mom. And moving forward, because the arc is for the most part called like partners in danger. And of course, Spider-Man famously likes to work alone. Every once in a while he does team ups, but he usually likes to just handle things on his own without having to worry about others being in danger, despite them like having abilities of their own. Is one solo story where she tries to, because it's been a couple of episodes, she tries to like team up with Spider-Man because she's new to the game. So of course she like, oh my god, I'm a superhero, because she has like, a thing for a mysterious dude. So that's why she liked Spider-Man. She famously has more interest in Spider-Man than Peter Parker. Don't know currently. Currently in the comics, and it's been there for at least some time, where Felicia Hardy and Peter know each other's identities. Because I'm not sure when that became like a permanent thing. Probably in the mid to late 2000s, something like that. What was going on? Yeah. She's new to the game, so it's like, oh, the thrill of, because she had a thing for Morbius and everything like that, so she likes mysterious dudes, but she likes the thrill of like going out at night and being a superhero and doing all this other stuff, and she want to partner up because she treated like like a kid. It's like oh, superpowers is I won't say she treated like fun and games, but she but she isn't taking it as seriously as like Spider-Man would. But this is kind of funny. Felicia Hardy is known to be like a rich kid. She's kind of like she obviously took inspiration. Stan Lee easily took inspiration from Catwoman in creating Black Cat. It's kind of obvious. But the difference is Selena Kyle grew up poor and eventually became a infamous cat burglar, while Felicia Hardy came from wealth and means, but in the animated series, she's not a cat burglar, but every other iteration she is. And I'm pretty sure in the comics she still was like a rich, wealthy socialite, but she still ends up stealing from people. Like I said, I haven't read really like this. They are Black Cat solo stories, which I should really like pick up and do some reviews on, because I'm just shocked that I haven't read much. Even like with Catwoman, like I haven't read that many solo Catwoman stories. I just recently read One Bad Day Catwoman storyline, and it's good. It's like, because I think they had like it's supposed to be like a Ra's al Ghul one that's supposed to be left, because I read, the Riddler, Mr. Freeze, Penguin, Bane, and Two-Face, and then the more recent Catwoman. And I think Riddler, Freeze, and Catwoman is probably like the best ones, arguably. I think Bane's, is mid. It's not bad, but Penguin and Two-Face was very subpar. I expected a whole lot more from them. But it's supposed to be like a Ra's al Ghul one. I haven't read that. I don't know if they actually completed that one yet or is working on it now. But as part of like the one like Catwoman story I thoroughly read, that I thought was pretty good. And even that, as I was reading, like, wow, she is like not like super jacked, but she's a well-toned. The way that she was drawn with her biceps, and I'm looking at Black Cat in this, is like, wow, she's like really toned, and it's like it stands to reason. That's why I don't think like her having to switch back and forth makes a whole lot of sense. It makes sense in the context of having a secret identity, but you just can't turn a super soldier power on and off. So like I said, I need to read up some like Black Cat stuff for the channel. But anyway, she is trying to partner up with Spider-Man every time she runs into him, but he's just not in his right state of mind, and they have to deal with Craven, who's hunting Mariah, because while they was curing sickness in Africa, she got sick, and for the time being there was no cure for what was going around. So he still had the sample of the formula that turned him into Craven the Hunter. So he gave her some of it. She miraculously is better, so he takes her back to New York to recuperate. And it's like, and then of course she gone feral, and he now has to hunt her down. And I'm like, you didn't really expect that. You didn't like, how the way that you turned out, you didn't really take into account any side effects. It didn't dawn on you. I thought that was freaking ignorant from Craven the Hunter. Given his experience, he didn't take a chance of like, I don't know, locking her into like a I want to say a cage, but some kind of prison or something like that, just to make sure there was no unforeseen side effects, and if they are, you can easily cure it right away, or like whatever. But Spider-Man is on just like a hunt. Like, oh, it's Craven. Craven's causing these attacks, so I want to deal with Craven. And if it wasn't for Felicia, easing, like, because you're not thinking straight right now. Because of course, you got Deborah Whitman and Flash going on this little scientific hunt. Deborah Whitman is probably like, I want to say she's useless, but she's just like, just places where she really doesn't need to be, and she's just there. I don't want to say just there, but she's just like in places that, and getting caught up in things that she should not be caught up in. So they all wondering like why he's Spider-Man's acting so like just angry, and of course they don't know why he's angry, because Spider-Man won't let them in. He doesn't want them to know his personal identity. He doesn't have anybody to confide into in regards to this. But I'm like, you got Daredevil, and you got the X-Men. You can easily talk with any one of them. I mean, they won't know your secret identity, but they can at least gather what you're going through and try to, and Iron Man. It's like each one of these guys are superheroes, so they would know what you're going through and try to help you through this. You're carrying this unnecessary weight on your shoulders. You don't have to tell them like your identity, but you can tell them like you lost someone special through this battle with Green Goblin, and like I don't know what to do at this point. That's why I think it'll be beneficial for Marvel Comics. If I was writing Marvel Comics, I would want to write something with Doc Samson, who is like a Incredible Hulk supporting character, and like do like a short series where he's talking with various superheroes in the superhero community, and like because he's a therapist and he can like talk through each one of these individuals problems, and try to like at least lift that burden somewhat, because superheroes go through stuff too. So they managed to cure Mariah, but thanks to Doc Connors working off of what Mariah already established a foundation of. So they managed to not fully reverse the effects of the formula, but just enough where she is on equal playing field with Kraven. So they go off to God knows where, and just to live a life with each other. Then of course, like I said, there was this one episode where like Black Cat teaming up with well, she wasn't teaming up. She just got fed up with trying to like work with Spider-Man, who just not want to deal with her at this point because he's in his own little hurt. So she followed this truck that's supposed to be like, that says the Hardy Foundation, but she knows, okay, they shouldn't be making any kind of shipments or whatever like that this type of night. So this is suspicious. So she follows it. It's a trap laid by Alistair Smythe to capture her, because he's now working for Silvermane, the baby Silvermane, who having his daughter calling the shots for the time being, and realizing that he needs people who was affected by the mutagenic recombinator, which was Scorpion and the Vulture. So they task Spider-Man, in order to rescue Black Cat, he needs to find either Scorpion or the Vulture, which ironically, Scorpion has the Vulture chained up in his apartment, so he can because he has a girlfriend named Sarah. She came out of freaking nowhere, and trying to, because he planned on like stealing money so he can fund the scientific stuff needed to change him back to a normal guy again. And of course, Vulture at this point is keep reversing from old man to young man, every few minutes. And last time we saw Vulture, he absorbed Spider-Man's like mutagenic curse that would eventually turn him into the Man Spider again. And now last time we saw, he was afflicted with that. But okay, like where did that go? So Spider-Man eventually used Connors to say on news that he found like this new, because it wasn't even ready yet, but he just put a false statement out into the press to say like, oh, we found like a way to cure people of the eugenic afflictions. And so this tricks Scorpion to come out of hiding. So he attacks Scorpion and brings him to Smythe, who then turns trap Spider-Man so he can use Spider-Man to switch ages with Silvermane. But Vulture, ironically, thanks to Sarah releasing him in order to pull a Deus Ex Machina, have Vulture come in. He switched places with Spider-Man so he can, permanently be young, while Superman goes back to being old. So now he's back to being his old age again. And this will be the last time we see Silvermane ever again. But now, the building's collapsing, and Spider-Man, Scorpion, Sarah, Black Cat all escape through different places. So that's that story. But then we get this two-parter arc with Blade, who shows back up and chasing down this vampiress who turns out to be his mother. And of course, it's played differently in the show, where, well, not that differently. I'm not sure about the comics. I need to read some Blade comics for Halloween this year. But if you've seen the Blade movie, you know that at least is taking parts from the original comics, that Blade's mother, while she was pregnant with him, got bitten by a vampire. And that explains why when she gave birth to Blade, whose name was real name Eric Stevens, which is ironic because I think that's one of the alternate names for Killmonger, I believe. Could be wrong. Hold on a second, because that sounds so familiar. Like Eric Killmonger. This is aliases. The main is just for the movie. Hold on, Blade. Eric Brooks. That was Eric Brooks. I knew it was Eric something, but Eric Brooks is his real name. And he comes back to the States chasing on this vampiress who finds out, because she left a clue where she finds out about Doc Connor's recombinator, which she plans on using it to turn regular people into vampires immediately. I guess because the old-fashioned way, I guess, takes too long, while this is more like a quick thing, just to make a larger family with her at the head. And of course, Blade, now rediscovering his mother, according to Whistler, which really kind of is right on him, saying that he's reunited with his long lost mother he thought long dead, and now he's blinded by that, so he's not thinking straight, and he's not acting like himself, because he knows from experience what he has to do, which is take down this vampire regardless of who she is to him. It's kind of that way with zombies. It's when somebody's bitten, once they turn, they're no longer that anymore, and you gotta do what you gotta do. Well, it's just, I'm not sure how it's slightly different with vampires, because they still retain themselves. It's just a corrupt them. Sometimes it's more often than not, it's they're corruptive cells. It's leaning into the kind of the darkness, rather than full on zombie, where it's they're not there anymore. So of course you got to bring Terry Lee back in this game, But also in the same time, because Deborah Whitman finds a hibernating Morbius in the cave where we last saw him, and because she's in love with him, and it's like she doesn't know that. Well, it's obviously pointing out Morbius before he turned. Because she had feelings for him, but he already expressed to her that he had feelings for Felicia Hardy. And of course, like poor Deborah Whitman, because like the mysterious guy from Europe doesn't really love her, but she loves him. But she got a thing going with Flash, because Flash Thompson ironically actually has some like legit feelings for Deborah Whitman, but she's completely ignoring all that. It was never really brought back up ever again. That let she come to a realization, Flash's true feelings for her. And good on Flash, who despite knowing that she's thinking about this other dude, he goes out of his way to help her. It shows like Flash's bit of maturity. After season 3, you see Flash like less and less over time. Once they bring Morbius back, because he's hibernating, so he's in like stasis at this point, and Connor's holding news conferences, and of course you get like the introduction to Ned Leeds here, who's supposed to be another Hobgoblin mantle, but we don't get that here. And a rival reporter to Peter Parker. So Deborah is hearing everybody calling him like a monster and everything like that, and she's like just tearing up. I was like you obviously are your judgment is clouded. This dude taking plasma in order to survive. It's like, I guess like everybody got a thing for Jared Leto, I guess, whatever. But anyway, so Blade, Spider-Man, and Terry Lee working with Black Cat and Whistler, all trying to stop Blade's mom from. Of course, Blade was so shocked that she turns out she doesn't want to be normal. She wants to turn people into vampires, and it's like, well, duh. But they all work together to stop, and end up destroyed the recombinator, which reverts the people she turned into vampires back to human again. This feels like a quick fix, if you ask me. It's kind of like the whole Chitauri thing in the first Avengers movie, where you destroyed the mothership, so of course it shuts off all these aliens. Kind of quick. So Felicia says her goodbyes to Spider-Man, and she decides to go with Morbius, who's been reverted to his previous stage before the Man-Bat stage. And they decide to, because thanks to Whistler giving the serum that he uses for Blade to keep his vampire thirst under control, he gets to Morbius, which managed to work with him. So he's in his right state of mind now, and understands like well, as long as I know some horrific bat creature, this is probably as good as I'm going to get. So I'm going to use this gift to help stop the creatures of the night like her. So because Felicia loves Morbius, who knows who she is, decides to go with Blade to stop the creatures of the night. Then this one's kind of like, other than the Black Cat storyline and the Blade stuff, you know, everything else seems very solo-ish. This is, like I said, this is a very low tier of a season. We get a thing with Harry Osborn now, who finds out about Peter's secret identity, because Peter's not thinking straight. He's in his own world. He mistakenly leaves his mask, loose from one of his drawer, and Harry discovers it. Then now Harry's like becoming a bit unhinged, because the Green Goblin persona from the purgatory thing from where he was last seen somehow managed to reach out for some reason and managed to speak with Harry and convince him to turn on the goblin gas and gain like the similar powers as his father, and decides to go after Peter, who the goblin tricks him to believing that it's all Peter's fault, that Mary Jane doesn't love him and his father is gone. So you get the whole thing with, not that too dissimilar to Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire and James Franco stuff. And I guess, well, no, I was about to say, like, I guess a little bit of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Harry Osborn, but not so much. But of course, this at the same time we got the Punisher showing up, because he's at the same grave site, talking with his wife. They didn't bring up about the kids or anything like that here. He's talking to his wife, and he overhears Anna Watson speaking to the gravesite of Mary Jane. And of course, like I said, I don't like Anna Watson. I'm pretty sure she shows up here and there in the comics, but she's not very prominent in most Spider-Man stories. But it all depends whoever remembers her as a character. It's kind of like the same way with like Rocket Racer. It's like, it all depends whoever remembered these characters that only really made a prominent thing is in this TV show. In old 80s comics or early 90s, they had like a little moments here and there, but now a full-fledged thing. Yeah, if Sony want to make a like a anti-hero led movie, they could have gone with Rocket Racer. I mean, it kind of makes sense with him more so. If you want to go with somebody obscure and make him like a bigger deal, you could have gone with somebody like Rocket Racer or Hobie Brown the Prowler, which is the final episode of this season. Of course, people know Aaron Davis, Miles' uncle, to being the Prowler, but the original Prowler was Hobie Brown, who later on becomes, in current comics, the Hornet, which, like I said, I think he has slightly more presence than like Rocket Racer. Like I said, it all depends whoever remembers these kind of characters, if they grew up watching this show, because it's honestly the only time people actually remembers characters like these. But like making Rocket Racer of a a movie is feasible if you do it right. But where I was going with this, the Punisher hearing Anna Watson complain about like Peter blaming him for the supposed disappearance of Mary Jane, so he decides to go snooping around. Of course, as I mentioned in the previous season with the whole Man Spider storyline, the Punisher his original introduction was a Spider-Man comic when he was hired to take out uh uh Spider-Man. Uh Here he's chasing down Peter Parker, who he assumes to be the new Green Goblin. But you know, Peter managed to stop Harry Osborn's because he really hasn't, like, he was a little bit too nebbish to fully commit to the whole Green Goblin persona, so Spider-Man easily beat him. But on his way home, while after he stopped Harry Osborn, in comes Mary Jane, alive and well. And of course, Anna Watson and May Parker are thrilled to have her back and everything like that. And then of course, Punisher goes back to his battle van and like pat himself on the back for a job well done. It's like, you didn't do anything. And it's a shame, because like the Punisher is an awesome character, but this show really, of course, is a kid show. They can't really like fully commit to what the Punisher is, but they definitely neuter him quite a bit. But then of course you get the last episode with the Prowler, who is obviously just like a guy who's getting into the wrong crowd, working for this guy named Iceberg, who's just a like a lesser version of Tombstone. And he was a thug who wanted bigger aspirations. And of course, it's around the same time when like Peter and Mary Jane are moving in together, and the only affordable place was, I think, was either the Bronx or Harlem. And of course, Hobby purse snatches MJ's purse, and of course Spider-Man stops him. And of course, Hobby took the wrong lesson about, like, whoever has the power makes the rules. And of course, Peter wasn't even thinking about that kind of stuff. When he caught him, he thought it was just like a regular purse snatcher. But he took like some wrong lessons about, like, whole, because the whole power and responsibility thing never really dawned on somebody like Hobby Brown until later on, thanks to Spider-Man, who helped him out when, after he tried to he goes to prison. He ends up helping the son of the Kingpin, and of course, because of that, Kingpin orchestrates a Hobby's release, and then goes to the Kingpin, who gives him Hobby his request, because he wants power, so that way he can get back at people like Iceberg and Spider-Man. And it's kind of funny because not many writers does this, but after he gets the Prowler suit from the Kingpin, he says, like, okay, we're even now. Like, your son's life for this suit, we're square, no strings, like no strings. And of course he does his evil laugh, ha 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 ha. And it's like, you gonna trust a guy who's called a kingpin of crime to keep his word? But of course, this is Hobby Brown, who just falls in these kind of things and doesn't really pick up on or take responsibility of his own actions. So he goes back, takes down Iceberg, who turns out to be an extension working for the Kingpin, who's overstepping. And according to Kingpin, this is fortuitous for him, because, like, oh, I gave you the suit, you take down Iceberg, who was your enemy, who in extension was my enemy too, because he's overstepping his place in the underworld that I'm governing. So it all works out well. And of course, he tried to go back. Hobby tried to go back to his girlfriend, who, you know, didn't want nothing to do with him because she just wanted him to get a real job, live a life with her. But he want to be more than that. He wants, fast money and high life and everything like that. But she ends up getting some new dude, and of course, he is like, oh my god, it's like I have nothing now. So he tries to go find Peter Parker, who everybody named Mama know, like, oh, he takes pictures of Spider-Man. He pals with Spider-Man. But of course, Peter's his own fault, putting in this guy's head, like, oh, see, in Spider-Man alter ego, it's like, see, Parker and I are pals. So if you mess with his girl, you mess with me. So of course, why would you not think someone will try to come at you just to try to come at Spider-Man? So after he regales Spider-Man or Peter Parker his tale on what the Kingpin betraying him with this belt thing that has some kind of explosive device that would feed off the feedback loop that's hurting him, and if he tries to force it off, it will explode. So thanks to Spider-Man's know-how, he disabled. It's still highly volatile, but it won't come at him. So they decide to use this as a subterfuge in order to get at the Kingpin, in order to stop his machinations. So they end up stopping the Kingpin, and this dude's like, I want to go back and see if I can pass things up with my girl. It's like, your girl has moved on, dude. You gotta probably have to let it go. Despite you learning a lesson, you can drive. I highly doubt it. She's like completely have moved on. You might as well do the same. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like this season. Like I said, it's like it's not like I dislike in the episodes, but I think the ones with the Black Cat's origin and her father, I think that arc was probably the most solid one out of the entire season. Everything else was pretty so-so, pretty standard. It's like something that you probably see from season 1. Very one-off kind of episodes. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you're watching this on YouTube or Odyssey in the future, let me know in the comments below what you think of the of season 4. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay. But then in a few minutes, I'll be doing a live spoiler review of the final season 5 of Spider-Man the Anime Series. That one ends on a very best note, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So I will see you guys soon. Take care. See you in a minute.